at this stage, Zorina, please go ahead and tell us your story and what is your background and your professional questions, professional background, sorry.
Sure. Hi, everybody. It's great to be here. Thanks a lot for having me. My name is Zorina, Alliata, and my background is very much IT. I'm a total geek through and through. I've graduated as a computer science engineer, and I worked in IT as a developer for many years. But then I moved to business analysis and project management, and went and got a master in business administration as well. I've spent most of my career in the financial industry, and I've also done some government consulting just because I live in the Washington, D.C. area, and that's just what people do here. And in the last 6 years or so, I have focused on machine learning and data science projects specifically. And as I was working with this kind of teams, I realized that you need to develop specific strategies to deliver on these projects because they are not like regular software development, which I had done before. They have specific challenges, specific works, and I just became really passionate about this and trying to, help companies really deliver on results on this type of projects. So I absolutely love machine learning and AI, and I can, hopefully share some of the things that I like about and that attract me to this. And I feel very lucky to be able to work in this domain.
Thank you, Zorina. So the one thing that I think would be great to cover as we get to know you is maybe a little bit more about yourself and anything that you're doing outside of AI and ML. As exciting as it is, I'm sure you have a lot of other things that you're doing. And I think when I talked to you, you mentioned doing some volunteering work, which you're really passionate about. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. So first off, I do have a personal life. I have a family, a husband, a son, and lots of pets, too many. And what I like to do outside of work is I write. I write poetry and fiction. My books are on Amazon. I'm currently writing a book about a robot girl who doesn't know she's a robot. So, speaking of how machine learning really affects my life. But one thing I really liked writing was a small nonfiction series that's available on Amazon. It's called Get IT or Get It. It's a pun. And these are booklets that I wrote for people who want to get into IT, but don't necessarily feel like they have the right education or background for it. It's just there's so many jobs right now in IT that it's easier than before to get into an entry-level position. So this series is helping folks, giving them the information to get started. And one booklet actually is specifically about starting as a data scientist in a very simple, plain English, how you can get started and how you can figure out if it's the right job for you. And I've also have the Get It series is available as a Udemy course. And I also have a Udemy course on project management for machine learning projects. Speaking of volunteering, I do volunteer at my job with Girls Who Code programs and also with two really awesome organizations. One is Women in Tech. I'm sure many have heard of it, where I get to mentor others specifically who want to do machine learning and AI. And then another organization is the Zonta Club, which is an international charity that stands for women's rights in general. And here in Fairfax County, we focus on fundraising to get money for scholarships, and then we offer those scholarships to young women who study STEM at local universities.
Great. Wow, that must keep you extremely busy. So let's get started. Let me see if anyone has any questions. Looks like so far We don't. So again, just as a reminder for everyone who's on this webinar, please, again, this webinar is for you. So please do not hesitate to ask a question. It's right here on your YouTube channel. On the bottom right of Zorina's picture, well, that's where you can essentially ask your question. So let me get us started then. Zorina, for someone who doesn't know what AI and machine learning is, so for someone who's not familiar, how would you best define it and describe it?
Sure. Well, I can start with a joke that's going around on LinkedIn. They say if it's written in Python, it's probably machine learning. If it's written in PowerPoint, it's probably AI. And that just means that AI is a very broader concept of making machines mimic human intelligence, right? So it's a lot of what you see in the sci-fi movies, and you read about those cool robots that hang out with people and make those kind of decisions. We're not quite there yet, but we are definitely on the way. One example of AI is probably self-driving cars. That's like the closest I would think that comes to that concept, which is we expect the cars to really figure out and mimic the human decision, right, as they drive. But the AI is just a broad concept, and it's not as much found in practice yet. However, machine learning is a part of AI, right? And it's made up of a bunch of algorithms that can be used to find patterns and optimize specific outcomes. So when you hear talk about predicting things, that's probably machine learning. And what machine learning does is create models. So if you hear models, if you hear predicting, they're probably referring to machine learning. And I just want to say all machine learning is AI, but not all AI is machine learning. I know there's a lot of confusion and people use the terms interchangeably. In a tiny bit more detail, machine learning is really what companies use right now. This is what they actually use day in, day out. Things that you probably already see that you just don't know machine learning is behind it. For example, intelligent chatbots. A couple of months ago, I was trying to buy a car. I spent like 20 minutes talking with, I thought, a person at a dealership. Turns out it was a chatbot. It was really good. I didn't realize it was a robot. I thought it was, a person. This is machine learning behind that, right? I've worked in the financial industry. Fraud is a big deal, and reducing fraud is definitely conducive to using machine learning. Fending cyber attacks. Again, there's a lot of machine learning going into trying to keep us all safe. And for the simple thing, just a better experience when you go to a website, Netflix, Amazon, right? They will give you personalized recommendation. That is machine learning behind that. So again, machine learning is used so much now by almost, I think the latest IDC study said 9 in 10 companies use some kind of machine learning. So that's how much this is now used everywhere. I can also go a tiny bit further. Very simplistically put, machine learning consists of developing models. So let's say that you have a website that sells umbrellas and you want to sell more umbrellas. So you want to optimize that outcome, right? What people will buy from you. So what you would do using machine learning is get all of the data that you can, all of the transaction data, all of the order data that you ever had, data on your customers, get all of the data and start analyzing it using machine learning algorithms and try to find those patterns that eventually led to successful outcomes, which is buying more umbrellas. Machine learning will give you that insight. It will give you, the algorithms will give you that kind of, I don't know, maybe you'll find that if it's Wednesday evening and a full moon, this type of umbrella sells better, right? It's the kind of insights that you just don't know that you might find in the data. But eventually, if you look enough, you will find those patterns that will enable you to optimize your outcome and sell more umbrellas. I hope that helps.
No, that's a great explanation, and I hope that everybody who's listening, uh, um, I hope that it really made it a lot clearer what the AI and machine learning is for them. So looks like we have our first question here from Ellen. Uh, what is um, what is a day like as an AI and machine learning a program manager? What is a day like for you?
Sure. Well, my day is usually awesome. That's because I do what I really love. So I'm lucky that way. But I start my day by taking a really long walk with my dog. That just clears my head and gets me ready for everything. I try to do the admin tasks that I have before 9 a.m. I'm a morning person, so I will do like expense approvals and vacations and whatnot, all of those kind of things. During the day, my main function for my job is to support and grow my program. So a lot of my day is spent talking to people about, improving our processes, how do we do, how we're doing it, simplifying, innovate and simplify. I think it's like my motto, trying to simplify the way we work, automate a lot of the tasks that we don't want people to spend time on, creating frameworks, templates, defining best practices for my team. Um, and I have a stand-up meeting with my team, which happens several times a week, and we discuss pain points, blockers, impediments, what's stopping them from doing their work, dependencies with other teams, and then I can take those and go and try and solve them or escalate them or make them into risks, whatever, regular project management type thing. We also celebrate successes and try to have some fun as a team, for building the team. And a big part of my job outside of all this is to report the status of the program. So provide that visibility for upper management into what are we doing, how are we doing it, how are things going, are we going to be able to achieve our goals for the year, right? So all that tracking, measuring, reporting, really interesting metrics, go deep into that kind of data. I gotta say that I really like this stuff. So I'm always trying to come up with new metrics and new things to show, because I think it's important that it enables our leadership to make the right decisions about our program, right?
Yeah. Thank you, Zorina. We're getting a lot of questions now, so let's start with another one, and hopefully I will not butcher his name. Xiaohan. He's asking, so here's the question. So what do you think, Zorina, is the most important advantage for students without CS majors to work in AI, ML domain? Is there any advice or resource to quickly get into this area?
I don't know if quickly is the right word. I just want to say that AI and ML, these are advanced disciplines. It's not super easy to entry, but it is possible. You just have to work pretty hard at it. If a student has no preparation at all, it will be probably quite tough to get in, but there are ways to prepare. So first off, several universities now, at least in this area, offer now degrees in data analytics. I've saw in machine learning and even AI. Now, if that's not available in your area, you can still prepare statistics, probabilities. That's like the bread and butter of writing this type of algorithms. Taking programming classes, Python and R, either of those, if you know them, you can program machine learning, right? So take any kind of IT classes that are focused on data, databases, analytics, and expanding a bit the cloud. A lot of the machine learning now, it's happening in the cloud. And there's a reason for that. The cloud has the right technology to support that kind of heavy processing, right? So any of this type of skills, data, analytics, the cloud, statistics, programming in Python, all of this will look very good and will prepare you for a career in data science. However, one thing that they would all look for is a little bit of experience. And I know that that's tough when you're a student and you're just graduating, you don't have that experience. Fortunately, there are websites there. The most famous one is Kaggle, Kaggle. You might have heard of it. This site is totally free, has a bunch of data sets that the data scientists can use to create their own projects and their own models. They also have competitions, so you can actually make money if you're very good at it. But the important thing, you can create your own projects. So that's experience, right? So when you go for an interview and they ask you, well, do you have any experience working in data science? You can say, yes, here are my projects. These are the algorithms I've tried. This is how I thought about it. This is what I've done, right? So it's a better conversation. So I absolutely suggest having some work under your belt on top of all these classes that you might take.
Great, thank you, Zorina. Another question from from the audience here, an interesting one. So Zorina, what is your take on using AI and ML to power a fully autonomous self-driving vehicle? Do you think that the technology is ripe for this?
Oh yes, but I'm a total optimist. Don't take my word for it. I'm in no way an engineer working on that, but I absolutely believe in this. I think it's a great idea. I always think that, you know, AI and ML can be used, of course, for businesses for all kinds of purposes, you know, to make a profit, because that's why businesses exist. But also there is a huge part of AI and ML where we use it for good. There's efforts, every major company has efforts in helping charities and helping causes around the world, and help, you know, just generally helping people. To me, self-driving technology really is about helping people who cannot drive or who are too old to drive, or just are not mobile and things like that. So to me, I think it's a great technology. And I've seen it work in small, like a small self-driving cars. We had competitions and things like that using machine learning. And I think that it's going to get there very soon. I'm a big optimist about that.
Me too. I'm with you on this one, Zorina. Another questions. I'm interested to know the career pathway to become a data product manager. I don't want to become a data scientist because I don't want to spend 80% of my time essentially cleaning data. So it's essentially someone who's asking how to become a data product manager, which I'm not quite sure if this is something that you can actually answer since you're more of a program manager. But I'll let you tell us, give us your thoughts.
Yeah, I can offer a couple of ideas. So obviously, I'm not a product manager, but I'm working with product managers. First off, a data scientist nowadays, they don't spend 80% of time anymore cleaning data. It used to be like that a couple of years ago. I think it's gotten much better. The tools are getting better, right? Like there's a lot of tools out there who do all of this stuff for you now. So it's the idea is to, you don't want to pay this very expensive data scientist to just sit there and clean data or label data, right? But now there are tools that can help them reduce the time to do that and let them focus on the actual big picture. But that being said, I understand that some folks don't want to take that path. To become a product owner in this domain, it's a bit tough. A product owner, I'm sorry, a product manager in general, it's a tough career to get into because you have to have all kinds of skills, right? And in this one specifically, you have to not only understand how this works, but also have the product skills, and that's like the UX and the market research experience and all of the stuff. There are a lot of classes out there and a lot of information if you just Google it. But I tell you, in practice, it is hard to go straight for those kind of jobs if you don't have something to back it up. So I would apply to be either a product manager and then specialized in ML, or go in as a part of the team, the ML team, and then work your way to be the product person. There are certifications out there that you can take, but again, it's a bit hard because think about it, would you hire a product manager who's never put a product to market, right? You do want to see some kind of experience before you hire that kind of level.
Okay, great. Thank you, Zorina. Another question, an interesting one. So it's someone who's essentially a senior software engineer, and he has taken quite few courses on ML and deep learning, both online and from universities. And he essentially understands the fundamentals. However, he seems to be struggling to transition into to ML and AI job because the roles that he's applying to, I think they are asking for some kind of industrial experience or formal degree in statistics or machine learning, which he doesn't have.
Yeah. So just keep looking. I know some companies will say, I will only hire data scientists who have a PhD in statistics. But that's only some companies, not everybody. And I think that nowadays there's such a need that a lot of companies are just taking an approach of if the person has some of the skills that are transferable, take them in. So here's what I'm going to say: if you're a senior person, first off, you probably already know none of this is new. Like I studied AI in college, and it was like 2 decades ago, right? We had a tiny neural network that was made up of 5 nodes, and we spent my master's year trying to teach that neural network to recognize the letter A. We didn't make a lot of progress. The thing is, the technology wasn't there. The concepts were there, right? So anybody who's been in IT, I think it has a lot of skills because the frame of mind and the concepts are already there and are already using it. What happened now is the technology has caught up with this. So that's why now you see such an explosion of using this type of algorithms, because now we have the cloud, now we're reliable, now we're secure, now we're scalable, now we can store humongous quantities of data for $3, right? So that's why you see now machine learning coming in. But none of this is super new. So a lot of the IT skills are really transferable. Anything to do with data. You have data governance, data management, data storage, data analysis, anything to do with data analytics specifically, please highlight that in your resume because that is super important and part. You cannot do machine learning without data, lots of it. But I've also seen business analysis, project management, obviously, program management. They still need this, AI or no AI, they still need the skills, right? Anything to do with the product management. And I've even seen excellent people getting into machine learning who came from a UX background. And you would think there's no UI necessarily in machine learning. Most of the time, it's just a model working in the background that creates a number, right? The probability between 0 and 1, that's what it does. So what do you need the UX for? But in truth, as you define these use cases where you could use machine learning, you need that brainstorming with your stakeholders and design thinking type workshops. And this kind of folks know how to do that. They know how to create the right use cases for machine learning. So that is a skill that you think doesn't quickly transfer, but it does. So if you have any kind of experience like that, you can highlight it in your resume. That being said, again, I know it's tough. I would try to get in as a data analyst or data engineer of sorts, and then work your way to taking on data science tasks and work your way to a data scientist. That is the fastest way I've seen in my experience for folks who wanted to get in with senior skills for IT. And I also recommend, again, having actual projects that you can discuss during your interview. That will give you a lot of credibility, and have links to the GitHub in your resume to those projects.
Thank you, Zorina. I hope this answers your question. I think it was Ranjani who asked that question, and he also seems to be having some issues hearing your voice. I mean, I don't have that problem, Ranjani, but Zorina, if you can just when I guess you speak, if you can just be a little bit closer, I think, to the to the screen, I think that may help. So moving on to the next question. So from Robin here, what do you like the most about your career?
My career.
Yes.
I just like I said, I've done some AI in college a while ago. I found that the idea fascinating. A machine that can think on its own. You don't have to specifically program it, right? It just uses its algorithms to find patterns and make decisions. It's just, to me, it was the whole idea was amazing. So when I've tried to find jobs at the time in AI, there weren't any. So, many years later, I see it coming back. And I was just so happy. I immediately went and took all the certifications that I could have, learned everything that I could, and tried to join a team of data scientists and machine learning engineers to get in. So it's just, I've always been fascinated by this. I think it's amazing. I think it's a second industrial revolution we're witnessing. I don't think we're ever going to go back to not use the machines, right? To the software to help us out. And again, I just love that I'm part of this in some small way.
Great. Thank you, Zorina. Let's see. So for our audience, keep asking some great questions here. So another question that actually I have myself for some of our, I guess, students or even professionals that are actually looking to get into your field, Zorina. So in terms of preparation, what can they do to prepare? What are your recommendations to prepare for the application and for an interview?
Right. So I'm not, I'm not going to talk about it as a technical, because I'm not a data scientist or machine learning engineer. But in general, to get in the domain, what I did was I just went and took all the courses that I could find at the time. There are several classes on Coursera and Udemy and all of those other sites like that, where you can actually, most courses are free. Even if they're not free, they're quite affordable. And they even have now like mini masters and all kinds of certificate programs available that you can take, and that will have some weight on your resume. But just remember that, again, these are advanced disciplines. This is not going to be an easy, I just took a course, I got a certification, now I'm just going to be a data scientist. Again, they're looking for that experience. So my first advice, outside of all the classes that I mentioned and taking all of those things, is please have some work, some actual projects that you've done. And you can do this. You can do this on your own. But if you bring it on the table and you can discuss it in a good way, and you can, show your way of thinking, that will make a huge difference in you getting the job.
Thank you, Zorina. Another question, I guess, somewhat similar. So how can one transition to AI and machine learning role? Are there any courses or certification, especially for experienced candidates?
Right. So I think I answered a similar one earlier. So, I'm not going to repeat all of that. More than to say, I don't think there are certain certifications that are better than others. They are all good. We're just in the beginning of this. This disciplines didn't exist 10 years ago in the form that they exist today. So if you can get any certification and Google away, a lot of the websites offer them. Any of those are good. I have not heard of any that are not good. Any certification will give you that advantage. You'll understand something more. And a lot of these courses, like I said, are very affordable, or some are free. And again, anything that you can do with data, anything that you can do with the skill set that you already have, try and move that into, what do you need for machine learning? You need to know Python, you need to know data. If you know the cloud is going to help you, right? So all of those things that you already do, see how it can transfer into MLAI.
Okay, thank you, Zorina. And so, um, is there anything in particular that you're doing to keep yourself updated with the new things that are happening in the industry? Because I'm pretty sure that it's, I mean, it's technology, so it probably evolves every day. What are your recommendations for someone who's already in the field to keep himself or herself up to speed?
Yeah, so I take courses constantly. I'm a lifelong learner. When I first started to study machine learning, they were using R, a language called R, to program. And so I remember I took this class. It was December, and running between holidays and parties, I was trying to learn how to program in R, and it was really tough. And after I did all that, by the time I finished the certification, when I actually joined the data science team, nobody was using R anymore. Now they're all using Python. So I had to go and learn Python as well. So my point is, like you said, it changes not weekly, but daily, right? Everything changes. So you got to just keep an eye on things. I'm part of meetups. I'm very active on LinkedIn. Happy to answer, connect on LinkedIn. I'm always there. Just keep an eye on what's going on. And then I have a bunch of certifications myself, like in project management and, some data science and things like that. So I just keep those up, keep them updated, don't let them expire. Cloud, things like that. So I try to go to a couple of conferences, small conferences a year, mostly local around here. But I try to go to one big one at least once a year. And if you can afford one, if you're in an area where they have these big events, it is really helpful to just get that perspective and see what's going on in the world. For example, Grace Hopper Conference, which is a Women in Tech conference, it's just extraordinary. And to go there and see, 20,000 women, young women, many of them in data science and machine learning, and they were all sharing their experience and connecting and talking about it. And it was just amazing. So if you can, if it's possible, I recommend going to at least one of these really big events, because you will really get that perspective. You will figure out where the jobs are, what are people looking for, what's going on.
Thank you, Zorina. Another question here that I think you kind of already addressed when you were talking to us about your typical day, but I think more from, I would say more a formal, essentially description. I think we have someone from the audience that's looking for essentially the role of a program manager. What do you exactly do as a program manager?
Yeah, so like I said, I work with my team to grow my program, make sure the team is doing the work in the most efficient way. So it's regular project management, as done by the PMI, only that my team is machine learning and AI oriented. So our challenges are a little bit different than a regular development team. So I make sure that I work with them to, remove impediments if they have, define their processes. That's a big deal. Always trying to get better and faster at how we do things. Grow the team itself so they get to maturity, right? And then, like I said, a lot of just reporting, giving statuses, providing the visibility into how we're doing, and are we accomplishing our goals. So practically, I think a lot of what I do is that.
Great, thank you, Zorina. So follow-up, I guess, question on that. What are, I guess, the typical path, I think, for someone like you? So actually, let's start with first, how do you get into a program management role? Let's start with that, and then we'll talk about what options do you have after a program management role? What other career path you can follow after that?
Right. So I get this question a lot, and I just want to start by saying program manager is not an entry-level job, so you probably would not get in right after college. there's a path that you should follow usually. So I get this question a lot. I mentor young students and they ask me, can I just, or they ask me, I've applied to a bunch of project management jobs and I never got an answer back. There's a reason for that. So this type of jobs require some management experience. So they would like to see people who have been people's managers or leaders of a team. It requires seniority in general, business and industry knowledge as well. So for example, if the hospital across the street calls me and says, hey, I have a program manager job, would you come work here at the hospital and do some amazing hospital things? I would probably say I know nothing about running a hospital, so I probably will not be good at that. Even though I know how to do program management and I've been doing it for many years, but I do not know that industry very well. So I'll probably need a huge learning curve or I'm going to fail. So my advice is don't just blindly apply to any kind of PM job, but focus on what you'd like, what kind of PM job you'd like to do, what is your niche, right? What piece of the industry you want to be in. For example, cybersecurity, focus on that, or cloud, right? Or machine learning, like I did. To me, this was my passion, so I went for this. So I've learned a lot about that on top of the program management skills, right? So that's what they're looking for when they're looking for a program manager. And certifications help in this case. PMI, Project Management Institute, right? Everybody knows they have the PMP, but also they have a lot of program management and agile certifications that are very well recognized and respected. So I suggest, if you're interested, you can get one of those. It does not hurt at all. It looks really good on a resume and you learn a lot. And also PMI has a lot of resources to help you if you're just starting in this career.
Okay. Thank you, Zorina. And then I think we have another question that's more geared towards, I guess, how to even get started, how to even get an internship. I think it's a student who is essentially has an information science background and also computer science. And she also has some experience as a software developer, and she wants to change to data scientist. And she's looking for specific advice on what she should highlight on her resume to land even an internship at at the top company.
Yeah. So like I said, any data experience will look very good. So if you can highlight that, and also be happy if you connect on LinkedIn. Be happy to offer a little bit of advice as much as I can. If you want to show me the actual resume, be happy to help you there.
Okay, thank you so much, Zorina. So let's see if we have any more question, and if not, I think we'll wrap it up here. Let's see.
Can I ask myself a question?
Sure, go ahead.
So I think that there is something that I wanted to talk about, and just wanted to make sure that I didn't give the feeling that this is a great, amazing, wonderful, which it is, but there are also challenges in AI and machine learning. And I think that anybody who's trying to either transition or get in, if you know these things, when you have those interviews and those conversations, you will definitely give you a leg up. People will realize that you really know what you're talking about. It is not a beautiful rainbow and butterflies type project where you just go in, you do your algorithms and everything works fine and your company makes $1 million. It's not, these are advanced, complicated things. And I wanted to mention some of the challenges that you will find as you work in AI/ML. The first one, the biggest one, is data. And I think somebody mentioned that they're spending 80% of their time cleaning data. Hopefully that's not that bad in many cases, but you need to have data. If the company hires you as a data scientist or machine learning engineer, and they have data split up between cloud and mainframe and data centers and on-prem and whatnot, and it's in all kinds of formats and all kinds of pieces, it's going to be very, very hard to do machine learning. So you're going to have to spend a lot of time getting the data in one place, in one format, making sense of it, cleaning it up before you can run your machine learning. So a lot of the times, people get enthusiastic about it, but this is something that you have to consider. It will take a while. And then the second most important thing, you will need to have buy-in from your leadership. Just to go in and say, I have great ideas, I'm going to do a bunch of models. It doesn't mean anything if those models are not approved to go into production by the executive management of your company. So having that leadership buy-in, getting them to understand why these things can help, make your case, make your business case, show them the profit you're going to produce, right? Do all that work before you spend 6 to 9 months building a model, and then you will never make it anywhere. So get your leadership to buy into this, or else, again, you might not succeed no matter how great and brilliant work you do. And with that goes managing their expectations. Many of the VPs are, oh, my competitor is doing something with AI. I'm going to do something with AI, but they are not certain what that something is. So they will come to you as a new data scientist and say, can you work some magic to make us a lot of money? Make sure you manage their expectations in the beginning and explain to them, machine learning projects are iterative. It takes a while. You need data, you need this, you need that. So do all of that work before so you don't fail later. So this is just a couple of things that I wanted to throw out there for everybody to know.
No, that's a great question. That is a great question as far as understanding the challenges to get into that field. So one last question actually from me, and I think we'll wrap it up at that point. So an interesting question. I just wanted to hear your thoughts in terms of where do you think AI and machine learning is going? What is ultimately, if you have to make a prediction in 10 years, 20 years, 50 years from now, where is AI and ML is going to take us?
Well, there's all kinds of theories out there. The guy who actually put the basis of what we today call machine learning, his name is Judea Pearl. He wrote a lot of the math that is behind what we now use for the machine learning algorithms. He actually came up with a new book last year, and he's saying that we will have a totally different approach to machine learning in a few years, and moving more towards actual AI, towards really making that cause and effect link for the machines to start truly thinking, more than doing a lot of statistics that we do now. So a lot of people are working on changing and making sure the future is even brighter. I believe that if we all work and have the good intentions, and we all are, very safe in how we're approaching this, and I think most people are, we will have great help from AI, right? I mean, again, it will be like the Industrial Revolution, like leave the horse and buggy and start driving your car, right? It will be the same kind of transition, and it might be a little painful, and it will take, quite a bit. But I think in the end, we will all be so much better for it.
Great. Thank you so much, Zorina.